Hey everybody, Jason here, West Volusia CPR and westvolusiacpr.com, coming to you today with a quick little video about heart tones, where we're looking for them, where we're listening to them at, and really how it all works. So let's take a look right quick. Starting with the anatomy of our heart, we have this nice picture here. And let's start with the right side of the heart and follow the path of blood as it flows through. Everything comes in to the heart from the vena cava, enters into the right atrium of the heart, which is kind of an extension of the vena cava. As it leaves the right atrium, it passes through the tricuspid valve between the aorta and the ventricles. When the ventricle squeezes, it passes into the pulmonary arteries through the pulmonary semilunar valve. Then when blood returns, it returns from the right and the left lung through the pulmonary veins, which empty into the left atrium. From the left atrium, it passes through the bicuspid or mitral valve. Then when the left ventricle squeezes, it comes behind the right ventricle and out the aorta, but not before it passes through the aortic semilunar valve. Okay? So that is the way that the blood travels through from the time it enters from the right side and then comes all the way through the left side. So what is it that we're hearing when we put a stethoscope on a chest and we're listening to the heart? You're not listening and hearing blood flow through the heart, you're actually hearing the closing of valves. So to understand when you are hearing your bump, 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 you're actually, the first bump that you're hearing, which is S1, is actually the valves between the ventricles closing, because the ventricles squeeze, and then the second bump is the atria squeezing and filling the ventricles. So as the ventricles relax, the semilunar valves of the aorta and of the pulmonary arteries close. So S1 is actually the mitral and tricuspid valve between the atria and ventricles closing, and S2 is as the ventricles relax, it is the pulmonary semilunar valve and the aortic semilunar valve closing. So everything is almost really ventricular related, or ventricle related. So S1, ventricles squeeze, the AV valves close. S2, the ventricles relax and are filled by the atria, and the semilunar valves close. That's all good to know, unless there's one thing that's missing, which is, where do you listen to? How do you properly assess your heart tones? All right? Excuse me. This is a good diagram that shows you all of your points in which you need to place your stethoscope to hear the different heart tones. But what do they mean? Well, the easiest way to think about it is using the mnemonic APE to MIN. A stands for aortic, P in APE stands for pulmonic, T stands for tricuspid, and M stands for mitral. Okay? These are also represented by these 4 points. Aortic, second intercostal space on the right sternal border. Pulmonic, second intercostal space on the left sternal border. Tricuspid, 4th to 5th intercostal space, left sternal border. And then finally the mitral, the 5th intercostal space, mid-clavicular line, about halfway down on the collarbone. All right, so in a real person, we've got about second intercostal aortic, right, second intercostal left, pulmonic, 4th intercostal left, tricuspid, and then 5th intercostal mid-clavicular line is mitral. What I see a lot of times is people will only put their stethoscope down here on the chest, and they're going to say S1, S2 normal. And the reality is that's not true. They may hear a faint S1, they may hear a faint S2, but they'll hear a very loud S1. Remember, S1 is the tricuspid and mitral valves closing. And we're down here at the apex of the heart where we're going to most clearly hear the mitral valve, okay, which is an S1 sound. To be able to hear all valves, S1, S2, the atrioventricular valves and the semilunar valves, we need to be at what's called Erb's point. Erb's point is the third intercostal space, and notice it's a little bit more spread over. It's a little bit further from the sternal border. That's the only true place to actually be able to say, honestly, S1, S2 normal. Okay? So remember, aortic, second intercostal right, pulmonic, second intercostal left, tricuspid, fourth to fifth intercostal left, mitral, fifth intercostal left, and then last but not least, that devious S1, S2 is going to be Erb's point, third intercostal space, slightly further left off the sternal border. We hope you found that this was helpful. We hope that this maybe shed some light on some things, help you be a little bit more accurate in your clinical assessments and documentation, or just understanding a little bit more on how blood flows through the heart and keeps from going backwards. If you have any questions, feel free to email us, or suggestions for future material, feel free to email us at admin@westvolusiacpr.com. As always, please feel free to visit our website, westvolusiacpr.com. And if none of that works for you, feel free to call or give us a text, 386-689-8051. We really look forward to hearing from you. We look forward to your suggestions, and we look forward to meeting you. Other than that, have a good one. Stay safe.